everything had to go perfect that day in order for Heather to be saved. And the sad fact is that the school didn't have an AED on campus in order to help Heather because they didn't know what was going on, nor did they ever think that a child would need an AED device. My name is Derek Freligh, Heather Freeligh's father, and I'm a first responder, United States Marine Corps veteran.
My name is Heather Freligh. I am 15 years old and I live in Tracy, California. So, went to school, everything was normal, had all my classes, had lunch. I got to math class, sat down, ready to take my test, everything felt normal. And then I slumped over, my face and lips started to turn blue, I was breathing heavy, and I fell into the floor.
And all of a sudden I got a call from the school. There was medical emergency vehicles everywhere, police, fire. I got into the office. I said, "Where's Heather?" She said she's in the back. And when I got to the back, she was laying lifeless on the ground with a CPR device called the Lucas device, pumping CPR. And I knew, as being a first responder, it's really serious, as that device is only used when CPR has failed. They had told us that Heather was having a heart emergency, that she needed CPR, and she required an AED shock, and her body was going into seizures multiple times, so they had to highly medicate her, and they needed to get her to the ER immediately. They told us at the hospital, after doing, tests on her, that she suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, and they didn't know why. We didn't know why. Bunch of family questions, family history, and nothing could point or tell us why this happened. 28 hours later, she started to wake up, and they took her off all the drugs and the medication, and we just needed her to squeeze my hand and for her to move her eyes in order to see if anybody was home. Like I said, by the grace, a miracle, she moved her eyes, squeezed my hand, and she woke up, and she started recovery. They removed the breathing tube, and she started recovery from there. We, came to find out that the principal had just had CPR training 2 weeks prior. The fire truck was already loaded up, and they were around the corner responding from another call. Everything had to go perfect that day in order for Heather to be saved. The fire truck was so close by with an AED device that was able to get to Heather quickly. So having to shock her heart not only 1, 2, 3 times, but a fourth time to get it restarted again, was a miracle, and getting her to wake up.
After I woke up, I was told that I had to get an ICD placed. So they took me over to UCSF Children's in San Francisco, and that's where I got my ICD placed. After a couple weeks, walked out of the hospital, and I made a full recovery. And it took me a couple months after that to really get back to playing basketball. But after a couple weeks, I did go back to school, still wearing my sling.
Any school that has a sports program, high school above, needs to have an AED and certain training and their coaches have to have training in order to respond to a medical emergency. Well, as we find out now, after our daughter having a medical emergency such as hers at another elementary school, that those same rules and those same situations don't apply to elementary schools and middle schools. Little do we know that sudden cardiac arrest is the #1 killer in youth in America. And not only that, but those youth that suffer sudden cardiac arrest, only 9% survive at 100%, and that's a really low statistic.
The American Heart Association reached out when they contacted us, said, "Hey, do you want to get involved in advocacy?" And she asked us if I wanted to help, or me and my dad want to help advocate for the bill called AB 2887, which recommended that schools have CPR plans in place for emergencies like mine and have AEDs on their campuses for elementary schools and middle schools.
They needed somebody in order to, I don't know, be the face of the bill. And it was just perfect timing because it was about this specific type of medical emergency that Heather had. And so they asked if Heather would be willing to speak in front of, House of Representatives, senators, a panel, a committee, a chairperson, live. Heather was really nervous. I'm like, this will be really good for you. This is what, this is what we wanted to do. And what you want to do, because we don't want somebody else to have a medical incident like this without having the proper tools in place.
I was scared, honestly. And speaking in front of such big people like that is nerve-wracking, and it's like, oh, I want to impress them, and I'm really scared that I'm gonna mess up.
You got through the speech.
I got through it.
We got through it, and it made it through its next section. It came to a point, it's like, hey, why not ask or see if we can't get this bill renamed, because we find out that happens, it gets renamed. Instead of calling it AB 287, maybe we could get it renamed to the Heather Freligh Act. And sure enough, the senator who wrote the bill, considered it, and he said, absolutely. Heather's been championing the bill, and she's been coming to advocate, and it speaks personally to her, who she is, and what happened to her. So the bill was read out, and asked for everybody to pass it to move on to the governor's desk to be signed. And so everybody voted, and there wasn't one no. Governor Newsom signed the bill, and the Heather Freligh Act was enacted into law, recommending emergency plans for all schools, emergency planning, hands-only CPR training, and AED access for middle and elementary schools.
So I am on a foundation called the Kyle J. Taylor Foundation, and the foundation leader, Jennifer, who was Kyle's mom, she recommended me for the award was called the Heart Champion.
It was a national award through the Parent Heart Watch called the Survivor Champion.
Survivor Champion.
We went up there, and as we were going through the different booths, and one of those people was Samir. We told him Heather's story and what happened. And Samir met us. He was so kind, and he was really heartfelt and genuine about the incident. He says, hey, if you want an AED device, I'd be happy to give you one and donate one, for Heather. I said, actually, Samir, that'd be really great, because she does a lot of sports. And we travel all the time with sports and doing things, and we don't have an AED on us. And if somebody needed one, or if our daughter needed one, even though she has an ICD, it would be great to have that safety in place to actually know that we could help somebody else save a life, or save our own daughters if we needed to again.
Opening it, I was just like, wow. Because seeing other AEDs, they're bigger, they have the whole box, and I've never seen one so small and so compact. And that's what I like about the A5 AED. And it's super small. And we turned it on, and the instructions are very clear. We didn't use it though. We didn't use it. And definitely what stands most out about it, that me and my dad always talk about, is the LCD screen. Super bright, super clear, and I've never seen an AED with an LCD screen, so it's like revolutionary. What I hope people take away is that they're inspired by me, because as someone who's still so young, a 15-year-old girl that was 13 when I had my sudden cardiac arrest, the amount of things I've been able to do, and the opportunities and the people that I've met through having such a tragic incident has been amazing, and something I never would have imagined could be. You don't have to be someone older to actually make change, even locally, even around your community, in your home, or at your school, sharing, oh, sudden cardiac arrest is the #1 killer in youth. Oh, do you know what an AED is? Do you know what CPR is? Oh, can I teach you?
We don't always get to track or see I taught my daughter, she says about the ripple effect of how affecting one person's life can really, change something. And as being a first responder, I've been fortunate in my life to see how touching somebody's life can change the outcome. It can change how things work. In the advocacy work we do, and how my daughter's life was saved by CPR and an AED, that I have had a front row seat to see how her life has been changed and how many lives she's been able to touch.